So welcome to another episode of The Shredder Show, which is brought to you by Shred8, the world's number one 8-week transformation program, currently available for only £47, link below the podcast. Today's podcast, we have got a great friend and fellow awesome coach, strongman competitor, former physique competitor, might come back to physique stage one day, Wade Foster, who's another local Surrey lad and also runs the podcast, Beers and Biceps, which goes into our topic today, which is going to be fat loss and alcohol. Not saying you're an alcoholic, Wade, but it just seems like a good subject for the both of us.
I think in the fitness industry, it's sort of one thing I'm known for. I like to have a beer. So yeah, I'm happy to go into it. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
It's a pleasure. So, briefly coming from, obviously, you came originally from a fitness, physique competing background, who now into strongman.
Mm-hmm.
So you're well aware of, and obviously your own coaching clients in terms of the detriment that alcohol can have in terms of a fat loss phase. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, there's a lot of ways where people can mitigate some of the effects of alcohol in terms of fat loss and be a bit more sensible in terms of their choices. Do you have a way that you personally have found to incorporate this, within your own regime?
So first, alcohol's never going to help. That's the
there is no benefit. It's you can BS a little bit with calories and refeeds with actual food, but there is no alcohol refeed. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, no, there is no physical benefit from having alcohol. In a fat loss, muscle building, in life, there's no physical benefit. Argument for psychological with stress relief, a little bit here and there is potential there, but for someone like yourself and I, right? When I go on a cut, when you go on a cut, I can cut alcohol out. I'm not bound by it. I can cut it out. However, I do very much like a beer, and the majority of my clients, men, women between 25 and 40, same, pretty similar to you, like to have a drink on the weekend. So there are ways, obviously, we can look to sort of get it in, but it's more the understanding. A lot of people don't understand. Alcohol's toxic. Alcohol's a toxin. Yeah. Your body doesn't.
You're literally poisoning yourself.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. I like a beer. I'm not saying don't drink. So I like a drink, but alcohol is toxic. It's bad for your body. So when you get alcohol in your system, a lot of your body systems shut down and stop to get rid of the alcohol. Right. So as soon as you start drinking and alcohol enters your system, muscle protein synthesis stops. Fat oxidation stops. Kind of the two big things you want to build a physique stop when alcohol is in your system. So if you do this a couple times a week or every weekend, you're limiting your potential to grow or maintain muscle mass or burn fat. So at the end of the day, it's never going to help you, which is it sucks because it's good fun.
Question for you: when you
sorry,
you're breaking up a bit then.
You
can continue, sorry.
Yeah. The way you sort of best way of getting around it is understanding that. So the rule of thumb is 4 or more, you're in trouble. Is the way I do it, and I like it because it rhymes, right? 4 or more, and you're starting to enter phases where muscle protein synthesis stops and fat oxidation stops. 1 or 2 on a Friday or Saturday, you're probably going to be okay, and you're going to get away with it as long as you're kind of sensible and you equate calories. But 4 or more is when you start actually sort of system starts stopping. So that's kind of the main approach I tell people. I was ideally don't get drunk.
It's the truth. It's very, very basic. I don't know why I just sort of thought this. It reminds me when I was 17, 18, I used to train loads, but I used to get absolutely plastered Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And I wonder why I never really made any progress. And I used to put so much effort into it. And you look back now and you think, Jesus, if I knew what I know now, the progress I could have made if I'd managed to get myself more aligned with my goals back then is huge. And I think that's one of those things that people don't take into account of. They focus so much on working out, which is awesome, but they actually forget it's almost like a 2-to-1 ratio. In my opinion, you should focus twice as much effort on sleep, recovery, hydration, digestion, the foods you eat, than training. Because reality is you spend 5 to 10 hours a week working out. What you do the rest of the week, that's what's gonna happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll make completely. And you probably hear this as well with kind of the lifestyle people. Thursday's the new Friday. So I'm drinking. Friday I'm drinking. Saturday I'm drinking. Sunday fun day I'm drinking. I have a lot of clients who go through a 4-day bit where they'll drink. And I'm there going, okay, cool. there's not much I can do here. Like, if you're going to drink 4 days in a row, like, there's not much I can do. But yeah, completely agree. When I was at uni, then my first 3 years out of uni, I managed bars. So I used to drink like 3-4 times a week, train 5-6 times a week, train more then than I did now, and like zero results because obviously like you're not making any progress with alcohol in your system. So I feel one of the main things to do is just make people aware. Like, alcohol is there, it's in our lives, and for a lot of people it is a stress reliever. But understanding that, right, how can we potentially look to program your nutrition or program your training if you are going to drink on a Friday? What do you do for guys, or guys or girls, if they're going to drink on a Friday? How do you mitigate their training?
So what I always suggest is I would never weight train the day afterwards. Like, it depends what context we talk about drinking here. We're talking about like, you can have 1 or 2 gin and tonics or glasses of wine or something. It's fine. Like, it's not realistically not really make much difference in terms of training performance. It will have an effect, but not like life changing. But if you're going to go out and get like plastered, the last thing you want to be doing is weight training the next day. Like, that is a recipe for disaster. So like, from my side of things, my like almost recovery protocol for people is basically, so in terms of training would be the next day, just take it as a rest day. But first thing in the morning, do cardio and just try and sweat as much shit out of you as you can do. And like, go and do it first thing before you've eaten anything, fasted, drink tons and tons of cold water. And I find that works really well to try and flush everything out. And I also recommend very heavily pushing water that day and also pumping electrolytes back in, because I find people get very depleted of sodium, potassium from alcohols as a natural diuretic, and people don't necessarily realize that. Benefit of that, like in more exciting times when we used to be able to go on holiday before coronavirus, if you want to look really shredded before going on holiday, or like before you hit the pool next day, have a bit of alcohol the night before, because it makes a big impact in terms of looking a lot leaner. So that's highly effective. But that's where I look at in terms of the training aspect. And in terms of nutrition, I don't necessarily ask people to offset their calories from it. I think that can lead to a big issue with like almost like a debit credit society in terms of thoughts with calories. So I'd rather they took that as their night off, as it were, and would just equate it into that's what you do within a week. So you can either have that as a meal, which I'd prefer, or if you want to go out and have a few drinks and not eat like a dickhead, then that's fine. So that's generally my sort of thought process, how I work with people. What about yourself with clients, Wade?
Training exactly the same. So that's the thing like definitely we need to touch on, because a lot of people think, oh, I had a big session, I need to have, I went out the night before, I need to have a big training session the next day to make up. And you're putting yourself in a hole. Like, it's one of the worst things you can do. I said, like, the body's not ready for it. So you're not going to make any progress in that session. You're just going to set yourself back. But like, a lot of people have that mentality. Oh, I went out last night, so I need to have a big session the next day and just get out of my system. It's like, no. You need to rest. Like, cardio, 100%. Sweat out, get some cardio in, kind of like try and burn some calories from formal cardio. But yeah, definitely don't weight train the next day. Completely agree. Calorie-wise, very, very similar. It depends on where they are in their journey and stuff like that. So I do talk about like calorie borrowing and stuff like that. I know you kind of alluded into your week, so I do have like a phrase. Is you can borrow from Paul to pay Peter, which basically means, like, say if I'm drinking an extra 500 calories on a Friday night, I can take 500 calories from Thursday to mitigate that. So I kind of do have a bit of a calorie borrowing scheme if people are going to go over. Ideally, I would be like, on your day, you would lower carbs, lower fat intake on the day you're going to choose to drink. But if not, and if it is just like a last minute thought, your partner invites you out for dinner and you're celebrating with a bottle of red or something like that.
It's out of hand.
What was that?
It's out of hand.
Yeah, exactly. Next thing you know, you're doing flaming sambuca and all that. Then you can mitigate. You can go, right, I don't know how many calories over, but I was X amount of calories over. At least if I take a couple of hundred calories out the next day, I should be back aligned and back on track. So I very much like calorie borrowing. It's one of my main techniques that I try and teach, to try and get people to understand a bit more of a flexible lifestyle, that you can, if you do go over on one day, you can go under on the next day. So I do use that principle quite a lot.
Yeah, I find it's effective. Also, going back quickly to what we were talking about in terms of training after a heavy session, I can remember the worst training session I think I can have in memory was I was actually in Marbella with Mike, and we're talking about things getting out of hand. We're like, oh, let's have a glass of red wine with dinner, and like we had a glass of red wine. Like, oh, that's really nice. Let's have another one. And then like 2 hours later, you were like 5 espresso martinis deep, and then it's getting well out of hand. The next day, I managed to lock myself like in like my parents have like a house off their house in Spain. I managed to lock myself in there, lose the keys. It was bad. I don't even know what happened. So yes. So that being said, like one of the other reasons, like I noticed personally from experiences like that, is your nervous system takes such a hit from that in terms of sleep. Your sleep is like non-existent in terms of actual quality sleep. So almost like the knock-on effect on your nervous system. And say if you wear something like an Oura ring, your HRV for like 3 to 4 days takes a massive whack. That shows it's almost like half a week in terms of recovery that's affected by 3 to 4 hours of like letting your hair down, quote unquote. So I think it's very much being wary of the knock-on effects. And I don't know if it's the same for you. Like for me, I noticed that for me to enjoy, like at the time it's awesome, but like for 3 hours of enjoyment, 4 days of pain isn't really worth it in my opinion. So
I'm the worst person on a hangover, mate.
Yeah.
I am awful on a hangover. Like I feel the world is crumbling around me and the world hates me. Yeah. But no, completely like so imagine if you drink every Friday, you have a bit of a session every Friday, like a lot of people do.
Yeah. And that's fine.
They're not really recovered and ready to go till potentially Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they're going to drink Friday again. Do you know what I mean?
You've got one day you're fresh. Thursday's leg day.
Do you know what I mean? But like you're never going to make progress because you're always chasing your tail because you're never fresh. No. So that's one thing where like I do feel for a lot of people who try and get in great shape, but they try and like balance a big social life with the gym. It's got to be a tiny bit of sacrifice there if you do want to achieve like the great levels of a really, really great aspiring physique. And I'm sure you're aware that with alcohol, you make poor decisions when you're drunk. Like,
we're talking about women or food. I'm married.
Every aspect. I could tell some stories, but we won't go into.
Yeah, this is a PG podcast. We might be children.
But like with food, like if you're drunk, that kebab on the way home, that McDonald's, that Domino's is very, very tempting. If I am going out and getting drunk, there's a high possibility I'm ordering Domino's. Especially next day, a Mackie D's breakfast is probably getting ordered as well. Next thing I know, I've probably had, including the drink, 7,000 to 10,000 calories in the space of an evening and a morning.
And all calories that your body is not going to utilize or do anything whatsoever with.
Yeah, your body's going to go, this is getting stored as fat, sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. So it's not exactly going to be aiding performance. And I think it's one of those things that's being aware of like how that affects your inhibitions because it has such a negative impact, not just like the day you're drinking, but the next day when you feel like shit and you're in a sort of pity potty of feeling crap and you feel sorry for yourself. Chances are, as you said, you're going to be ordering takeaways, you're going to be eating crap food, you're going to be doing it from the start of the day and then the whole day writes off and then you're at Monday morning feeling guilty again, like probably 99% of the population are. And that's where you just need to get yourself out that like bad loop and realize that you consciously control what you eat and like food or alcohol doesn't control you. And I think that's a very empowering thing when people realize that they have that control and you don't have to quote unquote conform to society of go out and get leathered every Friday night if you don't necessarily want to.
Yeah, 100%. But that's the thing. Like, why is it supposedly normal? Why is it not normal to not drink? Do you know what I mean? Like, why is it frowned upon to not drink? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, oh, I'm choosing to do this healthy thing and not drink, and then you get abused for it. It's like, hang on a minute. I'm actually like looking after my body. I want to like go to bed at a sensible time. I want to eat good food. I want to take care of my body. It's the only one I've got, and you're giving me shit for it. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
100%. But the irony is that those same people will be the same people who'll be asking you for help in terms of like, oh, how do you like say with you, how are you so strong? How do you lift this? Or how do you look like a certain way? And like, well, remember that time I told you not to be like doing those flaming sambucas and all the other stuff you do. Those sort of things do add up. And I think that's the reality that people need to be aware of. In terms of from your own side of things, like I've got my own personal choices of the rare occasion that I do drink. Do you have anything that you tend to steer towards if you're on a health conscious option?
If I'm being sensible.
Yeah, if you're being sensible. Which, as we said, once you start the inhibitions, guys, probably not going to last long.
No, to be fair, I am pretty like most times I'm sensible, and it'll be vodka, lime soda, or gin and tonic. Hands down, hands down. Get me on holiday, cocktails all day. Just I love a cocktail. But like if I'm being sensible, I'm going out around like in the UK, like hypothetically say you and me went for dinner.
Yeah.
Vodka, lime soda, gin and tonic. That's it's like the lowest amount of calories you can probably get in a drink. That I think tastes good. What about yourself?
Yeah, that's generally what I recommend. The two that I would push for people to do. So in terms of like a low calorie option would always be a clear spirit and like a diet mixer. So if you're in like a fat loss phase and it's your primary goal, I would suggest that's the option to go for. So something like vodka, Diet Coke, gin and slimline tonic, those sort of things. I don't know, you probably have the same thing where you are like, I end up having endless arguments when I'm overseas about like slimline tonic. They don't understand what I'm talking about, like the sugar-free one. That can be a complicated process sometimes in Spain. And then the other thing I've become very aware of, particularly after doing a lot of work with and a few podcasts with Camilla Gray, who's one of the previous episodes on here, talking about digestive health and the effect of sugar-free drinks and the negative effect they can have on gut health and gut microbiome is like huge. So one of the things I've started to do, if I actually want to, is actually have a glass of red wine, in the fact that actually is full of antioxidants and actually there is some research to show it has positive effects on gut health, like within small quantities, not the whole bottle. So that's something that I have become more lenient with, and particularly apparently it's only red wine, so not white girl rosé for anyone out there who's into that. But that's something I'm leaning more towards, maybe an age thing as well, but as you get older.
No, man, a nice bottle of Malbec I can't complain with.
So those would probably be my main go-tos, to be fair. But I think it's a slippery slope that people need to understand that, in my opinion, I prefer people either to enjoy themselves, let the hair down, or don't have it at all. Like it's very much one or the other would be my approach, because I think if you have one, you tend to then start to want more and more and more. So if you either have 3 or 4 or you don't bother. And I think it's trying to factor that in for most people to say like the best time to do that is save it for special occasions. So like, I don't know, birthdays, weddings, whatever. Like if you're going to special day, 100% do whatever you want, enjoy yourself. But like if you're sitting at home on a Wednesday evening, like cracking open a few beers and sitting there on your own, like it's probably not the greatest thing you could be doing in terms of your fat loss progress, or drinking a couple of bottles of red wine. I think that's something that a lot of people probably got caught up to with the lockdown situation as well, being stuck at home. So I'm not sure if that's something you see maybe with your clients, more people struggling with.
Oh, completely. Yeah, completely. So this actually leads into a good question I was thinking to ask you. So obviously a lot of people, like even midweek, weekends, they would use even a glass of wine or a beer as a stress reliever, a psychological benefit. Had a long day, I just want a glass of wine, I just want a beer. But obviously we're sort of saying here that like not best for your fat loss goals, not best for your muscle goals. What remedies or stress relieving activities or ideas do you give clients to help them if they're like, if they have a long day at work, they're stressed, they're maybe not even enjoying work, or they're in a stressful situation and they just want to have a beer, maybe on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday, and you're like, look, actually I recommend to do this instead. What would be things you'd go to?
Completely depends on the individual. So like it depends on, I'd ask them like, what is literally the favorite thing you like doing? So if you like playing table tennis, for example, go and play table tennis for an hour and like just forget about life, or play computer games or whatever it is you like doing. So like for me, for example, be like training, I switch off because I just forget about everything else. Like something where you have to intently focus on something that you actually enjoy doing, you'll forget about the stuff that you don't want to be doing. So that's very much what I try to recommend to people. I think it sounds a bit corny. Obviously, you can't really do it so much in the UK in the winter, but I think getting outside in nature and going for a walk is very, very good. Like leaving your phone in your car or at home is one of the best things people can do to almost like clear their mind sometimes. And I think that's something that we often don't allow ourselves to do. And obviously, myself and Wade were talking before the podcast how we both work for ourselves, work from home. Like we both went and worked at a coffee shop today for a bit, because like sitting at home, like, obviously it's amazing working for yourself and working from home, but sitting on your own all day is a very, like, I like isolated. I like being on my own. I like isolation within reason, but it's sometimes nice to see other humans. And in particular after the lockdown, I think people probably appreciate that more than ever. So I think getting outside and moving around and seeing different things to stimulate you visually, mentally, I think is very, very important. I think that's a change of scenery, I think, could do people a lot of good sometimes.
Mm-hmm. You know, I completely agree. My recommendation is 100% change of scenery, like depending on where it is. But like, get to the gym. Obviously, coffee shops are open until bloody like 8 at night now. Get yourself to a coffee shop. Just get yourself out of the situation. So if it is you're at home, you go home and you're associating that with relaxation and drinking. Like, don't put yourself in that. Like, get yourself somewhere else. Have a bit of stress reliever. Get to a different place. Like, just I agree with you. Gym's my place. Like, I'm just gonna go to the gym. Like, what's a 24-hour gym's now like what, £15 a month?
Yeah, nothing. Like even just going like walk on a treadmill and just listen to a podcast, listen to me and Wade, or like do something. Because one of the best things I find, like I'm now that I never leave home, I've now got a cross trainer at home as well, and I find actually, like, I do cardio fast in the morning. But what I do is I get up very early. I do like work for an hour or two, and then I'll do that. And I find if something's really pissed me off first thing in the morning, if I go and exercise, that's one of the best ways to alter my mindset and change me. And by the time I've finished the session that I'm doing, I've completely forgotten about whatever it was I was stressing about. And that's one of the best ways to alter your mindset. Like we were talking about earlier, if you have to do something where you're inherently focused, like you won't be able to think about whatever the problem is or whatever it is that's stressing you about, and you forget about it. And something I like to say is like, you have to think like about problems or like challenges in life is like, will this matter in 5 minutes, 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years? If it's not 5 years, then like realistically don't give a shit. Like just forget about it. Cause like it's easier said than done, but that's the reality of it. We at most, I think probably 99% of the stress we have is stuff that's probably only going to be bothering us for the next like 5 minutes or 5 weeks. Realistically, is many issues in life going to be lasting 5 months, 5 years? Probably not.
Oh no, yeah, completely. So like, yeah, like I'm like that. I'm all about like positive daily habits as well. I know you're probably pretty big on that. Like having your good routines and set, be it morning routines, be it nighttime routines, just having yourself in a positive mindset, positive routine. So one thing that helps me stay in a good way is starting with a win. So like I have this thing, the word I don't snooze, and it's a Bedros. You obviously know Bedros. So it's a Bedros thing. He's like imagine if you started your day every day where you start with a weakness. You were like, I'm not going to wake up now. I'm gonna snooze. You know what I mean? You're starting every day with a weak act.
You're failing before you start.
Yeah, the rest of the day is not off the journey. It's high potential that you're going to let a lot of things get you that day. Where if you start off with a good day, right, I've set my alarm for this time. I'm proving to myself I can get up. I start with a win. Next thing you know, brilliant. Then you start racking up these wins and wins and wins like early morning. The rest of your day is going to be easy from there. Like I'm an advocate of a cold shower in the morning. Start with a win. Like you get in. It's horrible.
I haven't got the minerals. I haven't got the minerals for it. I've been.
Have you done it?
I've done an ice bath. I when I tore my hamstring in an ice bath every day for a week. And I think it's mentally scarred me. I just can't. I was reading a lot of research about cold showers and fat loss, and I was reading like a lot of studies on fat loss, trying to optimize.
Cold showers and fat loss.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about brown fat adipose tissue and aiding fat loss. And I'll let you know when I try. I might a YouTube video coming soon. Maybe I'll be like screaming. You'll be able to hear me wherever you live in like Weybridge, wherever it is.
Yeah, but I'm not far, so yeah, yeah. But so my thing on that is like, right. So I start my day with like a massive win. I don't sleep in. Alarm up. I'm in. Next thing, the hardest part of my day is stepping into that cold shower. Like I hate doing it. It's not fun.
How long have you been doing that for?
9 months, 10 months.
Every day.
I might miss it like once or twice, like if the missus is around or something like that. But like majority of the time, like Monday to Friday, 100%. Weekend depends what I'm doing.
You're a weekday warrior of the cold shower.
Yeah, you basically weekends do what you want. But yeah, then wake up. Then the hardest part of my day is stepping foot in that, and I'm like, gearing yourself up. Like here we go. Come on. Once I get done, like the rest of the shit that gets thrown at me, and like you and I were talking earlier, the amount of shit that gets thrown to us on a daily basis, I'm like, it's not as bad as that shower I had this morning.
It's one of those things. It's like you can't have the light of the day that the darkness of night. Like you have to have contrast in life, because if everything was fine and dandy and rosy all the time, it wouldn't feel like that anyway, because you wouldn't know what something difficult would feel like or something bad would feel like. So you realistically need shit it is at the time, shit things to happen to you so you can appreciate the good times. And I think a lot of people sometimes think that no matter, I don't know, whoever their favorite trainer is or celebrity or whatever, that these people have these lives with no issues. The reality is they probably do have a lot of issues. They have probably big wins and big losses, and that's why a lot of them end up having sort of mental issues, because it's probably one extreme to completely the other.
Yeah. Oh, completely. So that's what's it's all coming with, like trying to like mitigate as much as possible, and just be aware of your situations and your kind of like surroundings. Like a powerful thing that you will, like, if you've never said no before, like to social drinking or to like going out from those, like the first time you say no is a really powerful thing. Like, you know what? No, I'm not going to have the drink, or I'm going to have a water. It's a really powerful thing to have. And like, yes, you may have that immediate, I don't know, like stigma with your friend or your partner or whatever. But then like the next day you're like, I'm so happy I said no. Joe, I'm not hungover. I feel great. I'm ready to train. My food's been on point. My body's loving me and stuff like that. And that's one of the most positive things. Like I think a lot of people can experience that don't. Actually, the power of saying no. But everyone goes, oh, I'll just say yes. I don't want an issue. I'll just say yes, and I'll always go with it. Whereas actually, if you just like stood up for yourself a little bit, going, no, you know what? I don't want to drink. No, I don't want that pizza. I want to stick to my meal. I want to stick to this. I want to stick to that. And then, like you say, the habits and the stuff that go on from that on and on and on will lead to just a much better success long term.
100%. It's one of those things like in human nature, we inherently want to do things that are short term enjoyable, but long term like are very, very bad for us. And the things that short term are horrendously painful for us, like cold showers, are very good for us long term. So we have to think normally like short term pain, long term gain. That expression, like it's so true. If you think about anything when it comes to sticking to your diet, let's not beat around the bush. Like proper training is fucking hard, and at time you're like, this is horrendous. But like afterwards, the feeling of accomplishment afterwards, after beasting a training session, is awesome. And knowing that you didn't quit and let yourself down. And it's very much similar to what you're saying about not snoozing when your alarm goes off. Like the biggest battle you're ever going to have is with yourself. And like you ultimately know whether you cheated yourself out of like what you can achieve or not, and whether you gave up or not. And that's something you either have to live with or you don't. And I think we're going a bit off topic here, but I think that's something very much that people probably need to comprehend. And I think people, once they start to see, as you said, like progress almost within their day or within their life, like you get momentum, and like success breeds success, and you can start stacking those wins on top of each other. And then you realize that you don't have to be the sort of person that's going to let yourself down. You can be the sort of person who you can rely on yourself to achieve what you want. You just need to like set yourself up for that almost within the daily habits you create for yourself.
Oh, mate, completely. Like this, you could not have worded that better myself, mate. That's awesome. Yeah.
So some finishing words in terms of drinking then, Wade, to wrap things up in terms of fitness, fat loss, and what would your finishing words be, and what is your favorite drink? No, like whatever you want.
Whatever I want.
Go for beers and spirits as well.
Okay.
Well, and cocktail. I know you like cocktail.
The finishing words would be like one or two is not going to hurt you, right? One or two. If you fancy like one or two on a weekend, something like that, it's not going to hurt you. Just make sure you equate for your calories, right? If you are going to go on a like regular drinking 4+, 5+ drinks a week, you probably need to sort of like reevaluate, relook at yourself, reassess your goals, and make sure that your goals are aligned with your habits you're going through. So if you're going to be drinking in excess of that a week, like you're going to be making your fat loss muscle building journey much, much harder. Favorite drinks, right? Beer wise, I'm a big fan of just a Corona, right? I like a bottle of beer. I love a bottle of beer. Yeah. I mean, mate, I'm really like it really depends what mood I'm in. So very much like an old fashioned cocktail, very much like an old fashioned. If it's a bit more of a sophisticated evening, bottle of Malbec with dinner, or then I'm a very much fan of a mojito.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice.
Not bad. What about you then? Any like no holds barred, what would you go with?
Okay, so cocktail wise, espresso martini, because I'm a caffeine addict. The thing is with espresso martini, you can get some terrible espresso like
you can.
No, as soon as you look at it, it's like piss. Literally, I just like it's a fucking waste of money. So normally if you go to like an all-inclusive resort, a lot of them can be pretty crap. But if you have a decent espresso martini, it's very calorie dense and it's full of caffeine. It's banging. It's really, really good. So I'd highly recommend that. And I like chewing the coffee beans on top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's probably my highlight.
Getting the even bigger caffeine fix there.
And then other spirits wise would be gin and tonic. I find incredibly refreshing, but I wouldn't really drink that in England. I like it when it's hot. And then beer wise, I'm not really a beer drinker, but I do like maybe like a San Miguel or something like that. I think I'm on draft.
And I tell you what, the best place to drink beer is abroad. You only get like a chill,
cold glass.
So you're like, this is what I need. This is it.
I'll take that. The San Miguel, and also it was a Hof Beer House in Munich or whatever it is, one of the big beer halls there. I think it's the biggest beer hall in the world. That was pretty sick, wherever it was there. Weisse beer? No, I haven't been to Oktoberfest. Mate, we should go. Oh, obviously not this year.
2021.
2021, it's going to be, we'll arrange it.
I'm in 100%.
So, and we'll document it for fat loss purposes of how to stay shredded in Oktoberfest. I'm not quite sure how that works. They've got some awesome gyms.
Get shredded first, mate.
So to wrap things up there, where's best for anyone to find out about you, Wade, your podcast?
So my podcast is the Beers and Biceps Podcast with Wade Foster, me. Light-hearted fitness podcast, basically, is kind of the premise of it. Or if you want to hit me up on Instagram, it's at Coach Wade Foster.
Awesome. Absolute pleasure to have you on, buddy. I hope everyone absolutely loved the podcast here. Please share it to your stories. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review. And if you need any help in terms of getting shredded whilst enjoying the odd alcoholic drink, if you want that, then hit the link below the podcast and you can apply for one-to-one coaching or join the Shred Nate program. So thank you very much for your time, dude, and I'll catch up with you soon.